Hello and welcome to the Fit for Life podcast with your host, Alan Fitt-on. In this podcast, I will be covering fitness-related subjects and my experiences to do with nutrition, building muscle and weight loss to name a few, and how, above all, to keep fit for life. So, hello and welcome back to the Fit for Life podcast with another guest today. We've got Lisa Booth here.
Hello.
How are you, Lisa?
I'm really good. Alan, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So we've got quite a big story to, I don't want to say story, like life experience to talk about today. Yeah. Something quite big that you've been through yourself. And so first of all, let's have a bit of an icebreaker first. We've done this on the past few casts. Been a gent here and got Lisa some ginger immune support.
Fabulous.
But you're a fan of these, aren't you?
I'm a massive fan
of them.
A fan of
yeah,
these. Big fan. Got to shake them first.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you tried the chili one?
Yeah, and the turmeric ones.
Which do you prefer?
I actually prefer the one without.
Do you?
I do, yes.
So this is your favourite?
So this is my favourite.
It's your favourite one?
You've done well.
Happy days. But it is like, I saw when I did it with the other client the other week, it is literally 12% ginger juice and 18% apple juice. So
it's got quite the kick.
Yeah, go on.
Cheers. Ginger. Jesus, imagine you with tequila.
That's my water. That's my spirit drink, that. I love tequila.
Me too, the rosé.
We're in Liverpool today. And Barcelona, did you ever go to Barcelona?
No, never.
Back in the day? Oh my God. I don't know if any listeners remember this stuff, but Barcelona was a tequila bar in Liverpool you go to. You pay £12 and get 6 shots of tequila, different flavours like butterscotch, mint, chili, baked bean. Oh my God.
Wow, the hangover the next day.
Yeah, that's what we live for. But no. Anyway, let's get into things here. So let's have a bit of an introduction, Lisa. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you currently do.
My name is Lisa Booth. I am a personal trainer and coach. I am a mum to 2 teenagers, a daughter who's about to turn 16 this year and a son who's 14. I'm married and have been for 16 years. I was born and bred in Liverpool, and I've lived in Southport probably for the past 17, 18 years now. So I've finally got to that stage where I call Southport my home now. Yeah.
Do you prefer Southport to Liverpool? Or?
Do you know, I do. I love the coastline. So for me, that was a huge drawing to come to the Southport. 26 miles of beautiful, beautiful beach. I'm an Aquarian, so I love water. So I'm really, really drawn to that anyway. Yeah. And I like the pace of life here. And it's not like Liverpool's a million miles away anyway.
No, it's only literally
half an hour down the road. So I have the best of both worlds. So I like to reside here and I like to go and play out in Liverpool.
Oh, cool. Love it. So you mentioned that you're a coach.
Yes.
You're a PT.
Yes.
So what lit the passion for you to become a PT?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. Yeah. We're kicking off. Here we go. Right in there. Straight in. So first of all, I'll start with, I am 43 years of age.
No.
I am 43 years of age, and I am not one of those people that kind of found my passion early on. Some people, and I envy these people, they kind of just know what they want to do with their life. Yeah. I was never like that. I kind of meandered around lots of different industries, lots of different jobs, trying to find what worked for me. I essentially kind of fell into personal training, really, if I'm honest, through my own experiences, my own life journey. I have had my own franchises before with slimming companies. So I've always kind of had a real interest in that sort of side of fitness industry, if you like. But it was really the fitness side that really, really stood out to me more than anything else. And from having gone through some of the things that I'd gone through, it was just a natural progression to go into fitness.
What industries were you involved in?
So sales. Sales predominantly. Yeah. I've worked in the dental industry.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, as well. And in sales, lots of different genres within sales as well. So, I was always told I could sell ice to the Eskimos. I don't know how true that is, but we'll see. Yeah. So sales is kind of quite easy for me. I found that quite natural. And then dentistry through my husband, because my husband is a dentist. Mm-hmm. So I managed a practice that he worked in, and I did that for quite some time. And it wasn't really the right fit for me. And then I left that industry. Prior to that, I had 3 of my own franchises for a very, very well-known slimming company. And I decided to walk away from that for reasons I think we'll probably end up talking about today. Okay. But I decided I couldn't be there anymore in good conscience. And then essentially my daughter got quite ill. And during the time when our daughter was quite poorly, I kind of hit a place in my life where I hit rock bottom. And I quite literally mean I hit rock bottom. And I was suffering from some stress myself anyway. So when our daughter got poorly, I was in a really, really, really bad place. So the gym floor was kind of offered up to me as a safe space where I could go and I could kind of unplug from everything that was going on at home.
Yeah.
And I could just try to have that hour for myself. And that's really where this journey began for me in terms of becoming a personal trainer.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So the gym floor was your kind of like mental release and escape, wasn't it?
Was, still is, always will be.
Yeah, love it. I think it's for a lot of people, isn't it? I think the gym floor is a great place to switch off from everything and work on yourself and have some you time, I think, most importantly.
Absolutely. And I think that that's something that I get. A lot of people are frightened to step foot in a gym and they can be quite intimidated by stepping foot in a gym. But my personal experience from someone who has been much, much larger than I am now, it was never a place of judgment. I never experienced what you think the gym floor is going to be like. Everyone's looking at me. Yeah. They think I'm not doing it right. Oh, I shouldn't be here. This is not... I never experienced that. In fact, it was always the opposite. I found encouragement.
Yeah.
So when you'd gone for, a couple, people started to recognize you, you'd get the smiles more than, hey, how are you doing? And then it would be, you're doing really, really well. And it was nothing but encouraging.
Yeah, which is what you want, isn't it?
Which is what you want, which is absolutely what you want. So yeah, it was a great place for me to be.
So was that, so how did you stumble across that? Was that something that you just thought at that moment in time, you're like, I need to work on me, I need an escape, I'm going to do this? Was it something that you had like suggested from what was it just, what got you in there? Was it a PT you went up with? Was it, what pulled you in? Okay,
so specifically, I can't pinpoint the exact reason. I kind of remember at the time, I don't remember the conversation that must have led to this, but there obviously was a conversation with someone at the time. So I apologize to whoever that person is for this. But I just knew that I needed to have a space away from the home environment because our daughter had quite she's an epileptic and she'd had a grand mal seizure, and it was probably the most terrifying thing that's ever happened in my life. And I would say there was probably an element of PTSD that was going on. So my husband and I were kind of, because it was a nocturnal seizure, so my husband and I were taking it in turns to kind of sleep in shifts. So it was like having a newborn again. Crikey. So you go through, so anyone who's got young children, you kind of run through the motions, and we were doing the same. So that home environment wasn't that decompression that most people get when they come home from work. For me, that was the stressed environment. So I needed to leave that environment in order to find that decompression. And so the suggestion came, well, why don't you start training? Why don't you start working out? And I had been a member of a gym previously, and I had actually trained. So I decided to do it. And I remember at the time it was Facebook, which I'm all about Instagram these days, but it was Facebook back in the day. And I remember putting a message out just kind of saying, anyone got any recommendations for any really great gyms in Southport? And lots of people came back and suggested the gym that I trained at. And so I just did it. And for the first year, I walked into the gym, this is no lie, with a cap on, pulled right over my face. So no eye contact.
No one knew who you were.
No eye contact whatsoever. Because I had those exact ideas as well, that people were all going to be judging me. What's she doing in here? She shouldn't be in here. What is she doing? That's not how you... And I was just so scared. So I did that. And then after a couple of months, I then enlisted the help of a local PT. And and that's kind of how it all started for me.
Yeah. I love it. So as we speak about ourselves, being bigger and walking into a gym is massively intimidating and a scary place for a lot of people. Yeah. Do you want to hop into the condition you were in and what changed?
So this is kind of a two-part story in this case, actually, because when I joined the gym, it was from a mental perspective, not a physical perspective. However, if we kind of rewind a little bit, and I mentioned that I had some franchises for a well-known slimming group, I had lost a lot of my weight. So like yourself, I lost just under 7 stone. So that was a huge journey for me. And I hadn't even realised, and I don't know if people can kind of relate to this, but I didn't realise that I'd gotten as big as I'd gotten. So I was kind of, I suppose it started really, I met my husband and we were living together and it was just takeaways and bottles of wine and good times and fun times. And we lived in an apartment in Liverpool. There were 2 apartments on the same floor, and the couple that lived there, we got on really, really well with. So it was always 2 wine glasses in each hand on a random Tuesday that everyone, just got home from work. And it was kind of like, so the weight creeped on gradually. And We got married. I was a size 14. I remember being very conscious in my wedding dress. And then I got pregnant 12 months later with my daughter, put on another dress size. And she was 9 months when I got pregnant with my son. I put on another dress size. So I can't really say I realised it happened. And I almost had sort of an element of body dysmorphia. I would go into the changing rooms and take a size 16 with me. I was a 20.
Oh.
And I literally I remember I'd stand in the changing room kind of going like, why do these clothes not fit me? What? They are really skimping on the material these days. As you do.
It's clothes fault, not mine.
It's not mine. This is not. Is it me? Am I the problem? And I kind of never realised that. And there was a turning point for me. We've talked about this. Turning point, which is quite horrendous. But in retrospect, before I tell anyone this, it didn't come from a good place, but it turned out really, really well for me in the end. My husband had gone out to wet the baby's head. He'd gone out with a relative. Long story short, he'd stayed over somewhere he shouldn't have stayed over at with a friend. They'd crashed out and stuff. And the next day, it was Mothering Sunday. And I'd woken up with 2 young children at my mum and dad's house without my husband present.
Yeah.
So I was not a happy bunny.
No.
Women can relate to that, defo. I was not a happy bunny. So I got a phone call. Can you come and collect me? Very sheepish. No, you can get a taxi home, because obviously I was a bit miffed with him. And he'd been out with a relative. So when he came back that day, the relative had preempted I was not going to be very happy. And he kind of tried to get ahead of the situation and tried to diffuse the situation, which was actually hilarious thinking about it. And his kind of way of diffusing the situation was the beginning of my life changing, really, in as much as he kind of just said, before you say anything to your husband, my kind of wingman, he stayed out for me. He was single at the time. And he said, and he was still drunk. I must reiterate this relative was drunk still. And he said, you're lucky that he's still married to you. He should have divorced you for fraud, because that's not what he married. And I still remember that moment very, very vividly. I remember what they were both wearing that moment. It's one of those moments.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling utter humiliation, because all the things that I tried to bury, this whole, I'm size 16, I've just had 2 children, it's normal, it's natural, came flooding to the forefront. And I couldn't ignore that anymore. No. And my husband did jump in there and kind of, gave him down the banks, don't speak to my wife like that and all the rest of it. And it was all fine. It was all fine. Yeah. But it was a moment for me. It was a real moment. And I actually joined a slimming club that following week. And so that was it. That's how I lost my weight with a slimming club.
Okay. And did you find that easy? Was that, I'm guessing from that experience, you were pretty damn determined.
Oh, I remember using the terminology. I remember going to a club, because the cultures of diet clubs are very much like you have this all, I'm so sorry again, but I'm not a fan of diet clubs regardless. But they have,
That's fine. We're both on the same page with that.
But they have this kumbaya approach at the end of every single session, where you kind of, everyone gets weighed and then they all stay behind, and then they all talk about, so this week, Sarah lost 4 pounds. Well done. And we all clap, and Sarah tells us what she's done. And this week, Lisa gained 1 pound. What happened, Lisa? What went wrong? And we try to dissect it. And the idea of them is, the kind of the psychology behind it's great. We're all trying to help each other. It takes an army. Everyone's trying to support each other. Great. I get that. I have no issue with that. My issue with the diet club culture, they're not teaching you how to exist in the normal world. They're teaching you how to follow their program.
Yeah.
And the consultants tend to have all been members themselves, and so have all lost weight. So they've bought into this philosophy of whatever the brand is kind of selling, because essentially they are a business. They are selling you something. They are dependent. It's like the lottery with scratch cards. They're dependent on churn. They need repeat business.
They need yo-yo dieters.
They need yo-yo dieters.
Yeah.
They need yo-yo dieters. And so during that journey, what they don't teach their consultants, which you and I know, which is why so many personal trainers and coaches have such a big problem with diet cultures and diet club cultures, is because they don't teach you what happens further down the line. So they explain this process to you and they sell this to you. And then from there on, when, for example, if you have 7 stone to lose, when you've lost 4 of that 7 stone or 5 of that 7 stone, all of a sudden your weight plateaus and you stop losing weight, but you're following the program.
Yeah.
But you're actually doing it to the letter of the law, but you're not losing weight anymore. And then when you sit around this kind of like campfire scenario, and then they come to you, Lisa, what's happened this week? You're perplexed, because you know you've given it 100%.
Yeah.
But the consultant's almost like, well, okay, well, if what you're saying is true, then why have you not lost weight? And then all of a sudden, you don't have the answers to that, but then they don't have the answers to that either. And the reason basically that you and I both know now is because you're carrying 4 or 5 stone less than you were. So you are basically not burning as many calories on a day-to-day basis than what you were. So you cannot eat the same quantity of food and expect the same results.
Yeah.
But that isn't sexy, and they can't tell you that because they've just sold you can eat unlimited amounts of this food. So it then has a very dark side. And I then ended up trying to manipulate the results. So when my weight loss plateaued, and I, through what I believe at the time to be no fault of my own, because I knew I was doing it right, I was blinkered in my determination, and I just stopped losing weight. In fact, some weeks I'd be gaining weight and I couldn't understand. So then I found a workaround, because I used to go to an evening weigh-in. I'm going to go to a morning class. That's what I'm going to do. I'll have no food in my system. I'll weigh less. So I did.
Right, okay.
And then when that stopped working, then I started using laxatives, and I ended up with an eating disorder. And then I was so blinkered, and because, diet groups only rely on one variable, and that is your scale weight. And again, we know that scale weight has so many variables. Yeah. It becomes a very, very dark, vicious circle. And so I did lose a lot of weight with a diet club, but it came at a price, quite a significant price, actually.
Right. Did you, so were you diagnosed full on with an eating disorder? Or?
I eventually went and sought some help. My husband intervened in the end, and he was like, look, we need to talk about this now. And he was very careful how he approached that with me, because obviously he understood my need, my want to lose weight, and he wanted to be as supportive as he could. But then he got to a point when he was like, no, Lisa, we need to talk about this now. We need to go and see someone. So I went and I enlisted the help of a GP. I was actually referred a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy. Depends on who you ask, actually, and on what day. Depends where the moon is in the sky. And I went to see him, and he was incredibly dismissive. Actually, he was he was horrendous. He just basically, I explained on this, and he just said, you shouldn't be here. This is a waste of my time. This is not an eating disorder. This is control and manipulation of food in the highest order, but it's not an eating disorder. Well,
that's what an eating disorder is.
Well, what is an eating disorder then?
I was going to say.
So I went away and I had to pull up my big girl socks all on my own, and the problem didn't go away. And then one day, it was actually my husband, I was ready to take laxatives again, and my husband just stopped and he said, you've never been the type of person to let anything control you. Why are you letting this control you? And again, it was another one of those moments, and I thought,
it just...
it was like a light bulb moment, and I just was I'm not going to take them. And so I didn't, and I've never taken laxatives again since, and I've kind of come full circle on all of that. So yes.
Amazing. So the gym was after that, was it?
So the gym was after that. So when I first walked into the gym, I was already thin. I'd lost all my weight at that point.
Right, okay.
It became then, and also when I was losing weight, I never actually, I kind of did dabble a little bit in the gym for a very brief period of time, but I didn't really join a gym while I was losing weight, and I wished, if shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Exactly.
I wished I'd done that then when I look back, but I didn't. It wasn't encouraged at that time. It was something they used to use. I'm not supposed to tell you the word, but there was a word that they used to use for it, and it was basically like gardening is. And what they were essentially selling was you just needed to move more, which in concept is correct. But when you've got a lot of weight to lose, you absolutely need to be in the gym, and you need to be shifting some iron.
Yeah, you do.
You absolutely do. So I wished I'd done that differently, but we are where we are today. So the actual joining of the gym was more about the mental clarity for me initially.
Okay.
And it quickly turned into something else.
Okay. So something I want to touch on as well, from everything you just shared there. Thank you for sharing. That's you've shared a lot of personal things you've been through there. What interests me is going back to when you said that you're with your partner and you live in Liverpool and you're going out for like nice meals with your neighbours and stuff like that. It very much gets branded in society today that if you put weight on, you're happy.
Yes.
Well, why should we brand? I know it's probably some people will listen to me and think I'll be a little bit extreme here, but I think why should we be kind of like saying it's okay to be like it's okay to put on like 2 or 3 stone when you get with someone because it's just they think you're happy. I don't know. I struggle with that. What's your take on that?
What's my take on that? Okay, so I think it's a comfort zone situation, isn't it? And let's be honest, when people put a lot of weight on, it's equally as much as because people are really unhappy.
Yeah.
And I know lots of people who are emotional eaters that eat when they're unhappy. I was an emotional eater, and as much as I ate, if my mood varied anything past neutral, I would eat and put food on it. I literally would. So if I was really upset, I would eat. If I was really happy, I would eat. And I would eat all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And I think it literally is about comfort zones. I think initially we're all on like our best behavior. We're all prim and proper. You know, how does my hair look? How's this? How do I?
Yeah.
And then you get to know somebody and you get to know them for who they are. And let's be honest, it becomes much less about the initial attraction. It becomes about the person.
Yeah.
And my coach, on that subject, actually, my coach posted something fairly recently and I read it and I thought, you know what? Absolutely. And she said, your body, and this was not aimed at me, it was in general. And she said, your body is the least interesting thing about you. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that in this society when we put so much emphasis on physiques.
We do. Especially on Instagram as well.
Especially on Instagram.
The world that we're in.
And I am guilty of that. I'm 100%, I hold my hands up to that. I'm 100% guilty of that. But I come at this I have a very different narrative in terms of why I bear a lot of flesh and things on Instagram, because I find it empowering. I find it motivating. The women that reach out to me find that exact same thing as well. And also, I guess, because as a woman in my 40s, especially as a mom, you can't lose your identity, and I don't want to lose my identity, so I'm quite fierce about protecting that identity.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to be one of those women that's like, well, who says life's over when you get to 40? Hell no.
No, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think that people just become comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's easily done.
Yeah, it is. But I think that there should be some self-priority to be like,
yeah,
I should be looking after myself. No, like yeah, I don't know.
But don't you think it's a bit like an avalanche? It picks up. So it's kind of like, should we get takeout tonight?
Yeah.
And you gauge the person's reaction, and then they're kind of
yeah.
And then it's like,
you're into it
because it's seldom just one person, isn't it? It tends to be both. So I think it is a coming together. I think both parties kind of like pick up on each other's weaknesses, and then sometimes they kind of feed into that a little bit until you find your happy place. That's really
true. Yeah, that's true. What would you say was your biggest roadblock?
Oh well, referring to Exhibit A that we just spoke about, I would say the fact that I was so blinkered.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy to say that was kind of like a roadblock, but for me it was, because that ended up in an eating disorder. I didn't give myself a moment. We hear this buzzword, don't we? Balance. Yeah. And I didn't have any balance. I was so focused and so set in stone. Because I came from, again, a yo-yo culture. So my mum was she is one of the founding members of the Yo-Yo Diet Club. And it was kind of, and her sisters were the same. So I grew up in that kind of environment. And so I think that for me, once I'd gotten this kind of train out the station, I was terrified that it would halt. So I was so blinkered and so focused that there was no allowing for that to not continue until I got to where I was going. And I didn't even really know where I was going. There wasn't a number as such. I was just going to keep going. And so I went too far past that point. So, this is just right. No, I ran right the way past that and then had to then do a U-turn and come all the way back again. So I would say that I didn't find my balance. I wasn't measured enough in my approach, and that was quite detrimental in the end. Okay.
So can we cover... So obviously you lost all the weight and then you got into the gym.
Yeah.
How, obviously you've done incredible since.
Thank you. Snap.
So how did you find that process for getting into the gym and getting with the PT? Do you want to talk us a little bit about your journey in that little part of it?
Okay. So what I will say at this point is that, to reiterate, I did go to the gym with a cap on for a year. And the gym that I joined was a very, very serious gym in terms of everyone that went there trained really, really hard. Mm-hmm. And everyone had a physique.
Yeah.
So it was super duper intimidating for me when I first joined that gym, hence the reason I wore a cap. But, and I will reiterate this, but the thing that constantly played over in my head was, if I want a little bit of that, this has got to be the best place for me to be.
Yeah.
Right? So I know right now I don't feel particularly comfortable, but if I do it for long enough, I'm going to find my happy place. And that was my mantra. So that's what I did. So the cap was my safety net.
Yeah.
And I then became part of the community, because you know yourself in the gyms that you train in, you see the same people have very similar like shift patterns, so you see a lot of the same people, so it becomes like a real kind of camaraderie. And I remember a personal trainer saying to me, I was chatting to her saying, I'm really still a bit unsure about certain things and like whether I'm doing anything right, and I've not really weightlifted before. And she said to me, well, it's very simple, just look around from a non-judgmental perspective, but look around the gym floor and decide what type of physique you want. Do you want the type of physique that the ladies doing cardio have, or do you want the type of physique that the ladies lifting weights have? And again, we talk a lot about these light bulb moments, but I do have a lot of these moments through my life where I kind of just went, oh my
there it is.
Good Lord, give me the weights. And again, so from that perspective, from this part of the journey, that was the new track that I went on. It was all about lifting weights. So then I absorbed as much information as I could. So, you're on Instagram learning how to curl really badly. It's not all bad, but a lot of it is. So, you've got this form that you think is absolutely perfect because you've seen it on some like YouTube or Instagram or something. And in the end, I decided I did have some personal training sessions, and that was very helpful, but I decided coaching was the way forward for me. So I enlisted my coach that I have now, piggybacked off. My cousin did all the legwork and found her. And I was like, great, that one's fab for me too. So
how long have you been with her for?
So Sam and I have got I want to say 4 years.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting because I don't work with Sam because I need motivation. I work with Sam because from a professional perspective, she keeps me learning all the time.
Love that.
Because if you think about it, from our job, we come across lots of different clients all the time. And, sometimes you will look at a client and you know what a client wants and you kind of know what direction you're going to go with them. And not that I say clients want to fit into boxes, and I hate that, but they sort of do.
Yeah.
You kind of know this is going to be predominantly box A or box B. But then if you have, say for argument's sake, you have 20 clients, then if your coach has 40 clients, then you're then enlisting the knowledge that they've based on 40 plus however many clients have come before them. So you have this kind of directory of knowledge that you may not have come across that scenario yet in your own working experience.
Yeah, that's true.
So for coaching, for me, it keeps me accountable because we put so much on. I know you talk about not managing to get to the gym all the time because your client, you're busy. So you know yourself, you're accountable to you right now.
Yeah.
I'm accountable to Sam.
Yeah.
So that keeps me on my,
good.
and it also, again, it sounds crazy, but it takes the guesswork out for me because when you will always put yourself at the bottom of the pile, I don't have the option to do that because I have myself a coach. So I definitely learn lots from her. So from a professional perspective, it's non-negotiable to me. But then also from a personal perspective, my goals keep changing all the time.
Exactly.
And she's an abundance of knowledge and I have a lot of respect for her. So that's why I keep having a coach.
That's good. No, I said any professional, any demographic needs someone above them to pull them out, to educate them further, push them further. I think it's really important.
Yeah. But no one wants to stay linear. I think that's my biggest fear in life, just staying the same.
Yeah, no. I can't cope with that.
No, exactly. That keeps me up at night. What if I don't progress in any element professionally, as a mom, as a wife, within the career? What if I'm exactly the same this time next year?
It's hard, that, isn't
it? It's scary. It's a motivator.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. So did you have any mental issues before or during, after your transformation?
No. Does denial count as mental? No. I would say...
Maybe. I don't know.
I think there's an element, there isn't an element. There was definitely body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Because we talked about me taking size 16s into the changing rooms. And I wasn't a 16, but I would take size 16s in. And then there was the element of when I was so blinkered that I was emaciated. So at my thinnest, I looked awful. And I mean, really, really awful. It wasn't just painfully thin. It was very, very obvious to anyone who didn't know me that I had some form of an eating disorder. I did not see that.
No.
I did not see it. In fact, if I had a new low weigh-in, because I weigh myself 3 or 4 times a day, I was elated. 3 or 4 times a day. I was elated. And that now is so hard for me to grasp. I'm so far from there.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to imagine what life was like. And when I think about that, I was really miserable. I was really unhappy because everything I ate was measured, and if I eat this, oh gosh, I can't do that. Oh God, I've had my new low weigh-in, so then that would trigger something else, because then I think I don't want to put any more weight back on because I really like this. Really, really, really toxic and dangerous.
Did it change your perception of food? Did you look at food in a negative perspective by any chance?
Food for me back then was bittersweet, because I had to eat it. I couldn't get away from it, but I didn't really want to eat it because it could affect my scale weight, and I didn't want that. And that's really frightening, because even hearing those words leave my mouth now, because I'm so far from that space, it's really hard to kind of reconcile that with being me that went through that.
Yeah.
And so this is my bias against diet clubs, because I'm not the only person that's gone through that at all. It is a culture that absolutely exists. It's a culture they don't talk about, but it absolutely exists. And then building yourself back up from that to get to any level of normality is a, it's a mountain to climb.
It is, yeah.
You've got to be prepared to put the work in. You really, really have.
It is. The diet culture is very much a bit like a pyramid scheme, really, isn't it? It's the middleman. Yeah. It's between, obviously, we talk about education and giving clients nutritional value.
Yeah.
And something that you've got exciting coming very soon. And, it's the middleman that's saying we can have some knowledge if you follow our way, but that's the only knowledge you can have.
Yeah.
And to get results, you only have to just come back with us. And that's what advocates your dieting and gets people trapped in this diet culture. But I think it's just horrendous that you have to go.
Did you say culture or cult?
Tongue twister. Yeah, I'd say both.
I would agree.
Because it is an extent. It really is.
Yeah.
And people get trapped, and I think they get almost demonized into staying in those four walls from the people that be within those clubs and things, even though they're saying we're here to help you. These people feel trapped, and I just don't think it's a positive place, is it?
I think it's highlighted as a positive place. It's a place that people go to be helped. We're here to help you. And if I'm really honest, the people that work within these, the consultants, they're there because they want to, they want to help. There's no two ways about it.
No.
It is much, much higher up than that. And it's the fact that no one talks about the downside of diet cultures. And I remember having a conversation with my best friend about this, and she's recently rejoined one of these clubs. And I remember kind of going, no, why have you done this? Why would you do? And she said to me, she looked me straight in the eyes and she went, Lisa, it worked for me. And I was like, no, it did not work for you, because you lost a ton of weight with them. Then you stopped going, you put it all back on again, plus more weight. And now you're having to rejoin again. How is that a win? But the win is for the company, because you rejoining is the churn. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the business, is the ka-ching. And so, and this is a very intelligent woman that we're talking about here. And she has programmed, her disposition now is to believe that it worked for her. But every time somebody lapses off and rejoins, please tell me if you can relate to this. When you rejoin again, I bet you're about half a stone heavier than you were when you went last time.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's the rebound.
That's a famous, something I'm sure you and me got a pound for every time we heard that line. It worked for me.
I have to. This is my poker face.
yeah. And that's not critical of being like, what's the word? We're not thinking negative of you, but it's just these things do work for people, but what are you getting out of that? Yeah. And as I think we're very in line with this, both of us. But we're more so about the education you get from following maybe a harder process. I don't question that at all. That the processes that we follow, it is a harder process, but the value you get from following the harder process of educating and learning is lifelong.
And sustainability. Yeah. Because this is the difference, and I think sustainability is the key word here. Our way, it might be harder. Yes, let's not beat around the bush here. It is much harder. But it is a sustainable way of life going forward. It is a way that you can have balance. I go out, I'm very, very social. I go out all the time. I drink, I eat pizzas. There's nothing I don't eat. There's nothing I don't do. But in that culture, there is no sustainability, because as soon as you step foot outside the culture, you then...
Enjoyed that.
I'm really loving this. Yeah. As soon as you step foot outside of that... their plan falls to pieces. You cannot adapt that for longevity and sustainability in the real world, which is why you then end up joining again 6 months, 12 months later with the extra weight gain, because you have the rebound, and because they don't believe that their diets are restrictive, but they are. It's essentially a calorie controlled diet that's been worded differently and packaged up with a lovely little bow and handed to you. Well, guess what? There are apps out there that you can download for free that actually provide sustainability, and you can arm yourself with the knowledge to be able to have this element of balance in the real world, and you don't have to do that, and you can save yourself. I think it was a $5 a week when I used to go. I don't know what it is now.
Anyway, let's move swiftly on. So a bit more of a chill now. So are you a foodie, Lisa? Do you love food?
Well, Alan, I love food.
Yeah?
I think food is the best. Yeah, I'm a ridiculous foodie. So I have Italian blood in me. So anyone who can relate knows that Italians love their food, and I love food. And I think because I have always enjoyed food, minus that kind of dark time at the end of the slimming cult, I've kind of found my love for food again, and I come at food from a very different perspective than I used to. I would say a much more kind of like holistic approach to food. So I now believe in getting as much variation into my body as I can. It's not just about the physique, and it really isn't. It was for a long, long time, and it's not now. I've been very fortunate to get myself into a great position with my physique, so maintaining now I find quite easy. So now I can kind of like my legs stretch a little bit more around food. So I love being in the kitchen, I love creating, I love making different things. I love my food to look beautiful, because you consume it with your eyes and your nose before your mouth ever gets anywhere near it. So I love to cook, and I love to play around with different ingredients and things that are going to, satiate my body, but also make me feel really, really good when I eat it. I don't want to eat chicken and broccoli and rice for the rest of my life. No, I don't.
That's far left wing like prep
yeah, it really is.
That as well.
And you don't have to eat food like that to sustain a physique, or to even obtain a physique. You don't. Stage prep is very, very different, isn't it? As we both know.
It is, it's very
different. So
very
yes,
strict.
Massive foodie.
Yeah. So if you were stuck on a desert island, Lisa, and you had access to one meal and one meal only, being shipped over from no matter where would it be, whether it's a takeout, whether it's been home cooked by someone you know, what would that one meal be if you had to pick that one meal? What would it be?
My coach asked this question the other day on her page.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my answer's different to what I'm going to give her. I think hers was slightly worded different. I think hers was like, if you could only eat one thing again for the rest of your life, like each day. I don't know.
I don't like the question because you'd get sick of whatever that one thing is. You know what I mean? You can have like a sausage bomb for a year, and then get offered a bacon bomb, and it change your life, and it'd be like, that's absolutely incredible.
The honest answer to that is it changes depending on what time of day and what season we're in. I mean, that's not a foodie answer. I don't know why.
You have to break this down into like winter, summer, autumn.
Okay, we'll go with one then, because I feel like this transcends the seasons. Yeah. I love pizza. It's so basic and it's so boring.
It's not basic, it's not boring,
but I love pizza. Yeah. I love a slice of pizza. Yeah. Well, I don't love a slice of pizza. I love a pizza.
So what's your go-to topping then? What's your...
I'm dead boring though. I love pepperoni.
Oh, really?
And I love andouja, and I love mushrooms. I don't believe, controversial, I don't believe pineapple has any place on a pizza.
Get out.
I'm sorry.
Get out.
Alan, you are wrong. I don't believe...
I love it. I love pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple has any place on a pizza. It's personal preference. I'm not going to hold that against you.
I know. I'm joking.
I am, though.
Yeah, I love pineapple on pizza.
You love pineapple on pizza?
Yeah. But my old school used to be...
and we were doing so well.
I know. It's over. But margaritas. My sister used to work at Deep Pan Pizzas.
Did you really?
And she used to bring me like a free pizza home like every week. Yeah, I was blessed.
You were blessed.
But yeah, no, pizza and pasta, I think they're just the nicest foods of life.
I mean, you can't go wrong. It's there's an element, isn't there? Even though I've been really, really overweight, I can still get really excited about food. If I go out for a coffee, I will always assess the cakes. Always. If I go to a restaurant, I'll always look at the desserts first. Always. That has never left me. You learn to control it. You learn to have the buzzword again, balance. You learn to, there are days when I go, this will not support what I'm trying to do at the moment, so I'm not going to have it. And there are other days where I'm like, I absolutely am going to have this today, and it's fine. And I don't beat myself up over it. I don't head straight to the gym and go, right, I need to do 30 minutes minutes of cardio now. I don't do any of that. If I'm having it, I'm having it. I train for my mindset now and to keep my body healthy and strong. I don't train to punish my body because I had a sweet treat once in a while.
Yeah, no, that's not a good headspace for anyone. Another question.
Okay.
I'm going very much off point here. So would you say now that your current lifestyle, given everything you've gone through and where you've got to now, would you say that the way you eat now is tapered to your lifestyle? So, I mean, so if I use myself for example, I put weight on so darn easily. I just put on weight that easy. So my Monday, as I've told you before, my Monday to Friday is pretty darn strict. Then my weekends are kind of like, I've got free reign to do what the hell I want because I've been better in the week. Do you follow any type of similar thing yourself? Or
So I do. So for example, at the moment, I'm actually technically having a little tidy up, what we would call a cut in the business, because I've got a couple of holidays abroad. So to be fair, if I was to go on holiday tomorrow, because my coach and I kind of implemented this phase called Always Ready, which was that if I booked a holiday with 9 days to go, I could go and feel really comfortable. And I'm happy. I'm happy in that place. You know, I don't want to go through the cutting and the bulking stages really anymore. I just don't want to do that. So but having said that, sometimes I'm a lot more relaxed with my diet and I might just feel a little bit on the fluffy side, which I granted some people who are on my Instagram might think, are you kidding? It's how you feel at the end of the day, you know, and I'll have a little tidy up. During which cases I'm a little bit more conscious. So the weekends I would also be a little bit more conscious. But as a rule of thumb for myself, knowing my body the way that I do, Monday to Friday, I probably eat 5-6 times a day. Starts with breakfast around 6 o'clock in the morning. My last snack will always be a cup of tea and chocolate because I can't go to bed without having some tea and chocolate. It's always factored in. I still to this day, although I'm getting better at doing this, I kind of know where I'm up to now because I've done it for so long. Yeah. But I am trying to get back into the habit of tracking again, just to keep myself a little bit more accountable because I'm in this like kind of, you know, tighter phase at the moment, this tidying up phase. But as a rule of thumb, for weekend, pretty much do what I want to do. And Monday to Friday, I just keep it a little bit tidy. That's where I go. And balance.
Yeah, balance. Buzzword, but I think...
Buzzword. I think we won't use that word no more now.
Yeah, no. So, have you had any struggles since losing the weight, i.e. almost reverting back, body image issues? I know you said you think you've had maybe a few issues there. Have you had any issues surrounding that at all? Or even going back to, I know obviously you've mentioned about all the things you used to get, the laxatives and things. I know you said you've been fine, but have you ever had temptation? Have you ever had any?
No, not at all, because, you know, my mindset's very, very different now to what it was then. I'm in a much happier place. And I think you seldom will meet anybody, not just women. I mean, predominantly this statement I'm going to make will affect women more. And probably you can maybe, I don't know, debunk this from a male perspective. But women, I do feel, tend to be more hung up about their bodies, or certainly more verbal about being hung up about their bodies than men. And I don't think I've ever met anybody, literally my entire life, that's just like, I am at one with what I look like and who I am. And yeah, life's just great. I just live my life. Yeah. It tends to not work that way. So you'll always have someone go, and you could look at them and think, wow, their physique is, and they'll go, yeah, but you know what, that's the nature of the human experience, isn't it? So I will say I am 99.5% happy with where I am. 0.5? Well, otherwise I've just messed up my original statement, so I've got to put the 0.5. I've got to back myself up. I would say, yeah, I'm happy. I am happy, but then I think, you know, dare we throw the female cycle in there as well? It depends on what day we're on, what those percentages are. You know, if we're on day 27, then it might be 95%. If we're on day 3, it's probably 100%.
Yeah.
So it all depends. But yeah, I don't beat myself up. I'm a lot kinder to myself. So if I have a moment where I catch a reflection, I think, I literally stop myself now. And I do have a slightly different perspective because of the previous year I've just had. But I will stop myself and just say, your body affords you so many freedoms. It has been through a lot, Lisa. You have lost nearly 7 stone. You have birthed 2 children. You are 43 years of age. Give it a break. And literally, and I'll catch myself and then I'll go. And then off I go. And I don't revisit it again. It doesn't linger. If I try something on, I don't look good in it, then I just go, it's not for my body. I dress for my body shape. I don't go, but I really must mold myself. No, I don't do. Because that's not how you find happiness.
No.
It's not how I find happiness.
That's true. Perfect. Great. Would you say that's empowered you into being a better coach?
Oh, 100%. And, this is a very, again, please back me up on this. I think the coaching and the personal training experience is quite an intimate relationship. You are essentially, but we get quite hands-on. We're trying to make sure that muscles are activated and everything else. We're in each other's space.
Yeah.
You kind of build up this level of respect and trust where they open up to you and they'll talk to you about their environment, because environment plays a huge part, especially if you're trying to have a body transformation.
Yeah. It
doesn't matter how strong your motivation is and your discipline. If you're in a home environment where there's tons of chocolate and tons of crisps and you love chocolate and crisps, you've got temptation around you all the time. True. Do you have a supportive partner? Do you not have a supportive partner? So your environment plays a huge part in that. It's not just a case of, right, I've moved from the pre-contemplation to contemplation to action stage of decision making. You have to think about the environment as well. And this is something I talk about with my clients. But I think I'm quite relatable as well, because I've been every element on that spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been very underweight and I understand what it's like to have dysmorphia. I've been very overweight and in denial about that. Mm-hmm. And then I'm kind of like Goldilocks. Now it's just right.
You found it.
And I found it. And sometimes you will find with transformations, people tend to always overstep the line. And it's only when they do that do they realize they've passed that line and they come back again. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of experience in terms of life experience. And I can talk an awful lot about, these experiences that people have. I've been there, so I understand it. So I'm not just nodding politely and going, right, okay, with no point of reference. I truly understand. And my workaround might not be their workaround, but I can certainly offer a different perspective for them. And then because I've been through those different experiences and because I have an absolute passion for nutrition and well-being, as well as biomechanics and all the other elements that I participate in, I do think I have a wealth of knowledge to offer clients. So yes, without a shadow of a doubt, I definitely do think that it makes me a better coach.
Love it. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think it's one of them, isn't it? If you've walked in the shoes to which a lot of people struggle with. And I think there's also a lot of, nothing against these other PTs or coaches out there, but I think when you haven't been down that path yourself before and you don't truly know what it's like to go through that, it does affect your relatability and you don't quite understand the same. And it's bloody hard work. And having that extra comfort and understanding with a client, I think makes a massive difference.
I do too. And I think there's an element of trust that's already built up there without you've established it already, because there's that element of this person knows, this person's been there, this person understands. And it's kind of like an unsaid thing between you. So, and I think that people want their PTs to be in shape, the vast majority of people. But then there is still that level of intimidation and they worry that possibly you're going to judge them. I mean, we just don't. No. It doesn't matter. We're here to help. That's our job, But I think if they know you've been through something similar, I think it just takes the pressure off them a little bit more, makes the situation a bit more comfortable. Yeah. That's my experience anyway.
No, I completely agree. So what are your ambitions as a coach and what's kind of next for you?
So without going into too much detail on that, I had a pretty complicated past sort of 18 months really. And I would have answered this question very, very differently 18 months ago than what I'm going to answer it now. So I'm going to give you the answer as it is today. Yeah. I'm never going to be one of those personal trainers or coaches that's going to be on the gym floor 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's not sustainable for me. No. It's not going to be good for my health. It's not going to be good for my home life. So as much as I love being on the gym floor, and I do, and I absolutely see the gym floor being in my future for many, 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 many years to come, I have to think of all of the things that I can do within the fitness industry, because this is absolutely my place. I found my place now, finally. And so those experiences that I had gone through over the past 18 months have very, very much forged a very clear path for where and the direction that I wish to take this. So I am in the process, it's well and truly underway, of creating my first ebook, which is called Nourish. And it's all about nourishing the body and the mind. And it's essentially a cookbook that's been put together about how to do just that. It's not just about being macro friendly and people who train, but it's about thinking about the food choices that you put into the body and how they help your digestion and how they help your brain function, all these other things. So I've come at this from a very, very different perspective than just looking, I need a 600 calorie booklet to do me, for meals. So it's kind of a little bit of me, really, and it's about the visual, about the food looking really, really pretty. So this is not necessarily going to be, there are some recipes in that are really, really quick, but this is not necessarily going to be something you're going to pull out on a random Tuesday when the kids have got jiu-jitsu and karate and swimming, and you're like, oh, quick, mummy's just going to make this. It's not necessarily going to be about that. And I know that I'm singling my market, but it's something that I believe in. So that's the next thing. And then I've already got the second one in the bag in terms of the topic for that, which we spoke about very briefly, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Awesome. So now let's go a bit more personal.
Yeah.
About more about you, your own personal interests and passions, what your own personal goals are.
Okay. So if I start off with kind of passions and interests, obviously food is a big one for me. We just touched on this. So I love to cook and I love to create. So that's a really big thing. I find that very relaxing. Obviously when you have the time, because we're all busy, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I love that. I am really, really, really into photography. I love photography, very, very much so. I'm quite artistic in a lot of ways. So I love kind of being out and about with my my camera and stuff and just collecting images and stuff. I really love art and like water paintings and oil paintings and things like that. Having a very, very eclectic taste in music. So I love to kind of listen to music. I love to be by the seaside, hence the reason I moved to Southport. So I spend a lot of time on the beach chasing sunsets. Not so many sunrises this year.
Because it's like half full in the morning.
Yeah,
probably.
it's
a bit early.
It's a bit, although I have been known to chase the odd sunset, but definitely a lot more kind of chasing sunrises, chasing sunsets at the moment. And I'm embarrassed to say, but it's the scouse in me. I love a bit of fashion.
Yeah?
Yes, I love a bit of fashion.
Yeah.
So I like to have the odd fashion moment as well. So I love, and I'm really into interior design as well. So I'm quite artsy really in a lot of ways. Quite nomadic, a little bit of a hippie as well. I mean, there's definitely that element to me. So I suppose my interests are quite varied and I love to read. I read an awful lot as well. So I always have a couple of books on the go, various different subjects, a little bit of fiction, a little bit of fact, a little bit of everything really. So yeah, that's kind of me. And the goals are just to not stay linear. Let's just be as broad as that, just to not. Not stagnate.
No, I love about you as well. Because a lot of, I think PTs get into what we do.
Yeah.
I feel like that almost forced to like compete.
Yeah.
But you haven't followed that.
No, because I feel, I think that there is enough clientele. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Southport, I'm sure that people watching this know this, but Southport was voted, wasn't it, as the most, I think, was it the most athletic place or the fittest place in the world, because per square meter we had more leisure facilities and gyms than anywhere else in the world. Yeah. Okay, so we are in a very unique position that essentially having said that, there has to be the clientele to support that. So in the gym that I work in, there's tons of us, there's absolutely tons of us, but we all kind of do something that's slightly different. Yeah. We all come at it from a slightly different way. And I know the type of clients that I want to attract. And I think from the way that I put myself out there, I very, very much attract the type of clients that I want to train, because this is and I don't mean this in an arrogant way, I really, really don't, but the client relationship between ourselves, it has to work for us too, because like I said, it's intimate. So I want to spend time with people that I want to spend time with as well, who I can really help, who really want my help. And so, I kind of do cherry pick who I work with, if I'm really, really honest. Right. And I'm fortunate that I can do that. So that enables me to absolutely maximize what I do on the gym floor with my clients. So yeah, I think there's plenty to go around, and that's what we do.
Do you have any fitness related goals?
Fitness related goals. Well, I thought I'd got my first natural pull-up, only to realise that I hadn't a little while ago. Yes. I was doing it on an assisted pull-up machine with no weight, but there's still an element of resistance. So I'm quite... Okay. So yeah, I know, really moving on. So I still don't have my first natural pull-up, although I did I did say it was one of the highlights of a month a few months back, but yeah, I don't. So I've got to be able to get a pull-up, haven't I?
Yeah.
Got to be able to get a pull-up. And in terms of that, I mean, I'm not really chasing a physique anymore. I want to stay in shape.
That's mindset shifted again, isn't it? Which is empowering. So
absolutely. And I think, you know what, a point to make on this, when people start off on any form of a fitness journey, it inevitably starts out as a physique-based journey. For the vast majority of them, the physique is kind of the cherry on the cake, but it's everything else that comes or came with the journey that they didn't bank on getting, because those are the things that you utilize in your life. Those are the things that get you through the bad times. Those are the things that carry you through the good times. Those are the things that strengthen your relationships. Those are the things that forge new opportunities. The physique is just the cherry. It really is. And you can only understand that when you've been on this fitness journey and you've done this and say, well, it's easy for you to say you've got the body. Well, yeah, but I went on the journey to get the body. So I kind of know what I'm talking about on this. And I work with people who've done lots and lots of this.
Yeah.
And so I would say, don't be put off by the work, because for those of you that are in kind of the pre-contemplation or contemplation stage, honestly, it's a lot more enjoyable than what you think it is.
That's what you get from that journey as well.
It is.
A lot of people, I think, are quite negative and say, oh, everyone's on a journey. That's a big thing that's around about. And I think it shouldn't be overlooked, because it is a journey. It's a hell of a journey. And what you learn on that journey is priceless.
It's priceless.
And some of the most valuable things that you'll ever learn.
Yeah.
And it's really quite important to me, in my opinion. I'm not sure yours as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes into, so would you say that you've now got to where you want to be?
Have I got to where I want to be? That's a really tough question to answer. For now, maybe, possibly, potentially. I mean, that's a loaded question, that. Are we talking physique, or are we talking like in life?
Everything.
In everything.
Everything, yeah.
I feel like you're making this up as you go along now, Alan.
But this is the door open to.
Well, the answer's no, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's always more. There's always more to be had, and it's not in terms of like monetary. Like, I want more money. It's not like that. It's just, I want to feel fulfilled. I've got to have a purpose. You have to have a purpose. No matter what you do in life, there has to be a focus. There has to be a purpose. You have to be working towards something. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you're moving forward, like I said. Yeah. So the work will never be done. The gains will never be enough.
No.
The weights can always go up, and the reps.
Or you're shooting for that next step.
And I think I think Matthew McConaughey said it, didn't he? You've got to always have something to chase.
Yeah.
And I believe that.
Yeah. So what we just kind of spoken about there kind of opens the door also, because obviously this is a part one of a part two. We just kind of spoke about the things that you learn through the journey that you've been through, and how empowering that is to you. And if you want to kind of give a bit of clues as to what the next part two is going to be about.
I got to my physical goal, which was great. And it was kind of a 2-part series, in as much as there was the weight loss, but then there was the physical development of the journey within the gym. And I suppose I kind of could say I kind of got to that utopia state in terms of, I was very, very physically fit. I had a great physique. And I say that with pride. I really do say that with pride, not ego. I say that with pride. And then, my health took a significant turn. And I absolutely 100% put my recovery down to those byproducts of that journey, the mental fortitude that I had picked up, the discipline, the determination. It's definitely the determination that all of those things combined, they got me the physique, they got me the cherry. But those things, the physique didn't get me. The body didn't get me. It was the physique. It was the determination and the mental fortitude that got me through the past year and a half that I have just had.
And that will be in part two.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yeah. That was all just from, obviously, this is the first segment, which is a lot. We've covered a lot there. But there's a lot more about what Lisa's been through, which I think is very empowering, and she's going to be sharing with us on the next parter. So, that was part one. How are you feeling?
I feel pretty fabulous. How do you feel? Yeah. I didn't swear once.
Yeah, I swear all the time. But no, honestly, That was amazing. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Opening up to us everything that we've spoke about there today. I know that there's going to be part 2 coming, but if you want to do a little bit of a share of your socials, etc., so people can know where to find you.
100%, yes.
The floor is yours.
So my handle is Team LJB Fitness. That is my personal training page, and my personal page is LJB_PT. So you can find me or catch me on either of those 2 pages.
And where do you PT?
So I PT from Level Up Gym, which is on Virginia Street in Southport.
Terrific.
Thank you, Alec.
Anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. No, but anyway, thank you for listening, guys. As I said, part 2 will be on down the line. Please do give us a comment on what you thought of the cast. Give us a subscribe, follow on all, obviously, audio platforms. And we'll catch you in the next cast very soon. Thank you again, Lisa.
Take care.